Hello, this is News Now, reaching you live from iBrandTV News Studio in Lagos. Coming up, police arrest no fewer than 37 suspects over alleged banditry. An African Union suspend Burkina Faso from all its activities in response to military coup. All federal prisons in the U.S. placed on lockdown after a gang fight. Boris Johnson holds talks with Ukraine's president in Kiev. Thanks for joining us and hear stories making headlines at this hour. I am Frank Omalape. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has launched 62.1 billion naira fund to improve efforts towards sustaining the country's HIV response, addressing killer diseases and public health emergencies. The trust fund was launched at an event at the State House on Tuesday. President Buhari, however, said he was hopeful that the private sector-led initiative will surpass the 62 billion naira target in the next 5 years in order to adequately provide requisite treatment for HIV-positive mothers while contributing to closing the funding gap for HIV in Nigeria. The private sector-led funding for the HIV Trust Fund of Nigeria is expected to crystallize a sustainable financial mechanism for the mobilization and deployment of domestic private sector resources, particularly aimed at preventing mother-to-child transmission of HIV in the country. In a way from there now, the Senate on Tuesday passed the Civil Aviation Bill 2022, which seeks to repeal the Civil Aviation Act 2006. The passage of the bill followed the consideration of a report by the Committee on Aviation. Chairman of the committee, Senator Smart Adeyemi, in his presentation, said the aim of the bill was to provide an effective legal and institutional framework for the regulation of civil aviation in Nigeria to conform with the standards and recommended practices set by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. He added that the piece of legislation would, among others, establish rules of operation and divisions of responsibility within the Nigerian civil aviation system in order to promote aviation safety. And now the House of Representatives has asked the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to comply with the provision of the 2022 Appropriation Act, which gives express permission to Nigeria's embassies to spend their capital votes in order to speed up foreign operations without seeking the approval of the ministry. This was made known at a meeting on Monday between the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, and officials of the ministry led by the Minister, Mr. Geoffrey Onyema, accompanied by the Permanent Secretary Gabriel Aduda and senior directors from the ministry. Also in attendance were the Chairman, House Committee on Appropriation, Mukhtaru Bektara, and the Chairman Committee on Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Buba Yakubu. The House said compliance with the law was not negotiable until a possible amendment was passed by the National Assembly. And now the police command in Sokoto State says it has arrested no fewer than 37 suspects over alleged banditry in some parts of the state. Addressing a press conference in Sokoto State, the Deputy Inspector General of Police Operations, Ahmed Zaki, said the arrests were made between January 20 to 29th, 2022. During the operations, the police arrested no fewer than 37 suspects at different locations and several exhibits were recovered. The police revealed that all the suspects were linked to the notorious gang leader, Truji, and they have confessed to the complicity in the crime of banditry. The command, however, stated the investigation into the cases is still in progress and the suspect will be charged to court as soon as the investigation is completed. Away from there now, recently President Muhammadu Buhari expressed worry over the insertion of 6,000 576 projects into the 2022 budget. While signing the 17.13 trillion naira 2022 appropriation bill into law, President Buhari lamented how the lawmakers adjusted the budget. The president said it was not just that the lawmakers made insertions and worrisome changes to the budget. Most of the projects inserted are related to matters that are basically the responsibility of state and local governments and do not appear to have been properly conceptualized, designed, and costed. In an interview or exclusive interview with iBrandTV, the Minister of State Budget and Planning, Prince Clem Agba, however, provided some insight and shared his thought on this development.
The confusion is there, and the executive believes that it's the prerogative of the executive to determine what should be done, because it's the executive that actually goes out campaigning to say, I will provide this and I will provide it. And the legislature, as we know, are supposed to be done. But in the case where the legislature believes that it's also their responsibility, we need the courts to be able to, and that's why you have that third arm of government. Someone needs to take it to court so that we will have the legal interpretation of what it should be.
Clem Agba, Minister of State for Budget and National Planning. Away from the now, still on the Minister of State for Budget and Planning, the Octaro of Auchi's Sacred Kingdom, and Little Momo Ikelebe III, have conferred the title of the Uduma of Auchi Kingdom on the Minister for State Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba. Igboje Korea reports that the event, which took place at the Otaro's Palace, was attended by the Vice President of the country, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and guests from within and outside the country.
Palace of the Otaro of Auchi Kingdom, Alhaji Aliu H. Momo Ikelebe III, was filled with visitors from far and near, including the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Deputy Governor Edo State, Comrade Philip Shaibu, former Governor of Edo State, Comrade Adams Aliu Oshomole, ministers led by Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, members of the National Assembly, ambassadors from several nations across the world, traditional rulers, amongst others. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, while congratulating the Minister for State, Finance, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, for the feat achieved, said Auchi Kingdom, where he did his national youth service several years ago, is critically a representation of Nigeria with different nationalities and ethnic groups given equal opportunities and representation.
So my return to Auchi now, as His Excellency the Deputy Governor pointed out, makes me very much not just a citizen of Edo State, but a very special son of this kingdom. Your Royal Highness.
Edo State Governor Mr. Godwin Obaseki, represented by his deputy Comrade Philip Shaibu, in the governor's message said the Uduma of Auchi Kingdom and Minister for State, Finance, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, is a gentleman that is well deserving of such an honor.
On behalf of all of us, we celebrate with you. For us as a government, we will continue to do things that will give honor and glory to our state. To honor my younger brother, my friend, and my God, now the woman of our kingdom. When you have worked with the Honorable Minister of Finance, confirm what I know. That you are a deep player, you respect people, you work with people, and you submit to logic. You have to be your guiding.
Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, in a goodwill message, said Prince Clem Agba is not just a colleague, but now a brother and friend. Some guests at the event also congratulated the celebrant.
He has been very, very deliberate in his approach towards governance. He has touched a lot of lives. His style, you like his style. he has not kept himself away from his people, and so this award is being given is a testimony of who he is, and one will expect that he should be able to do more for his people, because his best is yet to come. He's a young man.
He's a grassroots person, and his developmental strides speak for him. From Otaru's Palace to this place, it has been all praises all the day. If you check your time now, it's 5 after 6, and the place is still crowded. It's to tell you that he is naturally liked. It is my prayer that as he has begun this good gesture, he will continue it, and people will continue to appreciate it.
He's an articulate and sagacious person, a forthright person who is out to see the well-being of people.
The Oduma of Auchi Kingdom and Minister of State Finance, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, and wife thank God for the honor.
One has to do service to humanity.
Himself, and we are very proud
there are a lot of vulnerable people.
That is why we are here
to consider their interests first.
Congratulatory message to him,
and to
we
work
pray
for
that
them.
God will put more appointments.
And I think that if we follow that path, we will continue to grow.
I'm happy and very thankful to God for the recognition given to my husband today for the conferment of the title of the Oduma of Auchi Kingdom to my husband by the Notary Council of the Auchi Kingdom.
The event later shifted to a reception where guests were treated to lavish reception of both Africa and intercontinental dishes and cuisine. The Oduma of Auchi Kingdom, which implies the Lion of Auchi Kingdom, was a recognition of the contribution of the Minister for State, Finance, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, to the development of Edo State as former Commissioner of Environment of the state. Iboji Warrior, reporting for iBrandTV News.
Away from there now, the United Nations Children's Fund, Unicef, says it has welcomed the release of 4 girls abducted by terrorists in Kautikari, a village in Chibok local government of Borno State. The released girls were abducted from the Kautikari community earlier this month in the Chibok local government area. UNICEF, in a statement on Monday, expressed relief over the freedom of the girls and called for the immediate release of all conflict-affected children held in captivity across the region. UNICEF representative in Nigeria, Peter Hawkins, said UNICEF is very relieved for the released girls and the families. In 2014, Chibok gained global attention after 276 schoolgirls were abducted in the area. And now members of a coalition of civil society organizations known as the Cohort of Civil Society Organization and Productivity or Productive Partnership has urged Nigerians to demand accountability from the members of the 9th National Assembly. While addressing the House of Representatives press corps in Abuja, the coalition led by Anthony Ubani, Executive Director, Fixed Politics, charged the legislators to always sponsor and pass bills that are relevant to their constituents.
We should always remember it's about the citizens. We've forgotten about that in this country. Everything comes down to citizens, the ordinary people who are neglected out there. That is why these people were elected, to represent them. Okay, mentioned about bills dumping. The focus really is to be able to identify that you're not just making laws, but you're making what we call technically high impact legislation.
It's a win-win situation. You are part of this conversation. We cannot have structured, consistent conversation on these matters without you leading the forefront, because you're frontliners. So it's our duty. It's a collective drive with both the media and the civil society.
We agree no less with the speaker when he said that, of course, bills making is not the only function. He's right. But the full story is that there are other core functions. And let me also make us realize or reminded that bills sponsorship is not actually the true story. And that is what we have done.
This engagement, not only are we going to have issues around accountability, but we're going to have accountability from an informed perspective, informed stance, that we're in the premises of the National Assembly talking to the press corps of the member of the National Assembly goes a long way to show that we want to work from inside.
You've been watching News Now, coming to you live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital. Still to come on the news. Libya Parliament to replace interim Prime Minister. Details and more updates after this break. Please stay with us.
Mama, you're coming to Lagos. Banga. Baby, Mama just called me now. She's coming to see you. She asked me to tell you to make banga soup for her. And she's close to the house. Oh.
How do you expect me to prepare banga in just few minutes? I have a solution for you. Really? Mm-hmm.
If you need to cook the banga, you're not going to enter my family.
Pali banga is used in making other exotic dishes such as banga jollof rice, banga efo riro, banga asaro or yam porridge, banga egusi, and many more. Pali banga is easy to open, no preservatives, no cholesterol, and no coloring. Approved by NAFDAC. Manufactured by Pali Agro Products Limited. Available in all leading stores and supermarkets nationwide.
Pali banga, natural palm fruit extracts for tasty African cuisine.
Powerful looks command respect, they say. The perfect body, the perfect grooming, and ultimately the perfect skin. Looks, style, and grooming makes the ultimate man. I've found a ridiculously easy way to make my skin always feel epic. My name is Neo. I found Blemiviv, and now my skin finally makes sense.
If you just join us, this is News Now, coming to you live from iBrand News Studios here in Lagos. It's time for African scene now. Libya's parliament announced Monday it will meet next week to pick a replacement for interim Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dbeibah, potentially escalating tensions between the country's eastern and western faction. The announcement a month after unplanned elections were abandoned amid bitter argument over the legal basis lays bare once again the extent of divisions between eastern and western factions in the war-torn country. Spokesperson Abdallah Likwer said the assembly base in the country's east was ready to start examining applications for the role, and that candidate will face hearings in the House on February 7. And on the foreign scene now, Boris Johnson is holding talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kiev. The Prime Minister will offer about £88 million in new UK aid to support Ukraine amid fears of an invasion by Russia. He is expected to speak to reporters later in the afternoon alongside Zelensky. Russia has placed an estimated 100,000 troops, tanks, artillery and missiles near Ukraine's border, but denies it is planning an attack. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov are due to speak by phone later. The Prime Minister's spokesperson said Johnson was spearheading the international response. He is now due to speak to President Putin tomorrow after the publication of a report on lockdown parties Downing Street forces on the postponement of his call yesterday. Away from there, now all federal prisons in the U.S. have been placed on lockdown after a gang fight left 2 inmates dead at a facility in Texas. 2 other prisoners were seriously hurt in the violence at the high security Biltmouth facility on Monday, the Federal Bureau of Prisons said. The Bureau said it was responding with an abundance of caution, adding that the lockdown was a temporary measure. It is rare for such a measure to apply to the entire federal prison system. Most of America's prisoners are held in facilities run by the individual state as opposed to the federal government. You've been watching News Now, coming to you from iBrand News Studio. Here up next is Business News. Welcome back. Analysts have tasked the CBN to ensure strict compliance of the new bank charges as directed by the Apex Bank. Adewale Joseph, a business development consultant, while commending the Apex Bank for the reduction in the cost of transactions, said proper monitoring mechanism will ensure commercial banks comply with the new directives without a breach or default.
The consequence was ruled out alongside the directives. But monitoring and enforcement, you see, like I do say, I did banking as an internal controller, 15 years. Something very unique with internal control is that you churn out the policies and you follow up compliance. So it was not just the CBN giving out the charges, the directives and the guidelines, but the ability and mechanism of following up. If I may share something with you, does the CBN, as we are speaking, have a mechanism to pull complaints by customers with respect to the directives for new charges? And if there was, because I am not aware there is any, if there used to be, did the CBN follow up with the respective non-compliant banks? So you will see the trouble here is not the directives, it is the compliance spirit. The monitoring mechanism. Does the CBN have a means of monitoring? And the other aspect, is there a pool or is there a trail between the Nigerian bank audience and the regulator? The CBN is the regulator here. Now, the banking audience, the customers, is there a route? Is there a chart?
Like a
is there a tunnel?
Yeah.
Through which the satisfied customers can get to the.
Now, the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria has stated that it is seeking clarification from the federal government on how the suspension of petrol subsidy removal will affect market operations. The chairman of the association, Olumide Adeosun, said that the decision to suspend petrol subsidy removal does not bode well for the petroleum downstream sector. Adeosun stated that the members of the association are currently seeking to consult with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, and other industry stakeholders to understand exactly how this decision will impact the other provisions in the petroleum industry as well as market operations. Recall the federal government had last week suspended its plan to remove fuel subsidy in June this year. It also postponed or proposed to extend the subsidy removal implementation period by 18 months, saying it would engage the legislature for the amendment of the petroleum industry bill. And our stock rose Tuesday, bolstered by the technology sector amid bets that shares are due recovery after this year's equity rout. Japan was set for a third day of gains, while Australia also climbed. They're among the few Asian markets open due to Lunar New Year holiday closures. The S&P 500 and tech-heavy Nasdaq 100 on Monday completed their best two-day jump since April and November 2020 respectively. Australia's currency retreated after the central bank scrapped about the bond buying program and said that step doesn't imply a near-term interest rate hike. Waves of volatility have swept across markets after the Federal Reserve signaled swifter monetary policy tightening to curb inflation than many had expected. In the oil market now, prices edge higher on Tuesday, trading near 7-year highs. It hit last week as investors, back to supplies with stay tight with a limited production hike by major oil producers and a strong post-pandemic recovery in fuel demand. Brent crude for April delivery was up 14 cents to about 0.2% at $89.40 a barrel in early trade. US West Texas Intermediate crude rose 13 cents or 0.2% to $88.20 a barrel, having gained 1.5% in the previous day. The benchmark hit the highest level since October 2014 on Friday at $91.70 a barrel and $88.84 respectively. They have gained about 17% in January, the biggest monthly gain since February 2021, amid the supply shortage and geopolitical tensions in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Well, you'll be watching News Now, coming to you live from iBrand News Studios here. Up next is Entertainment News.
Hello and welcome to Entertainment News. I am Choma Amaribulam. Pop singer Rihanna announced she's expecting her first child with rapper ASAP Rocky through photos released on Monday of the couple smiling, holding hands and revealing a visible baby bump. Photographer Miles Diggs posted on his Instagram account an image with the caption, "She is." The pictures show Rihanna dressed in a jeans and hot pink winter coat that is partway open and reveals her bare stomach. People magazine said the photos were taken over the weekend in Harlem. The Barbados-born diamond singer, whose birth name is Robin Fenty, has won 9 Grammy Awards and also developed the Fenty makeup and fashion lines. Moving on, Mattel Incorporation and Netflix are developing Masters of the Universe, a franchise created by the toy maker in the 1980s, into live-action motion picture with production slated to start in summer 2022. The project, which was formerly in development at Sony, will be directed by filmmaking duo The Nee Brothers and star West Side Story actor Kylie Allen as Prince Adam or He-Man, both companies said on Friday. The movie will revolve around an orphan named Adam who discovers that he is a prince destined to be the savior of a faraway land. The franchise was first introduced through a line of action figures in 1982, a year before the animated series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe premiered. And that's it on Entertainment News. I am Choma Amaribulam.
Well, and that's all we have time for on News Now. Many thanks for watching. I am Franco Malape. Bye for now.